Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video, and I'll start with some good news. This is quite likely to be the last Commodore 128 game I do. Now, I could give you all sorts of reasons as to why that is the case, but the real one is this is the last Commodore 128 game I've got, and that's a pretty compelling reason for making this the last video of this particular computer. Yes, I can get more, but I just do not want to. I have not really seen anything that grabs me about the Commodore 128. It's just what few Commodore 128 games I have, played or seen. There's just fuck all there. I think that is part of the problem. Well, part of the problem that the Commodore 128 had. It wasn't adopted fast enough. It came along at completely the wrong time, and it's to be honest, it's a great computer. I think the Commodore 128 is a fantastic computer. I'd say it is probably the best 8-bit computer that was actually, created and actually put on sale. But yeah, it just came along at completely the wrong time, and it wasn't supported very well, and as a result the sales were not that great, and deservedly so. There really is nothing here to make you think that replacing your Commodore 64 with a 128 was worth it. If you didn't have a Commodore 64 but wanted one, then the 128 might have been worth considering, but it really depends on the price difference. I can't remember how much the 128 cost, but I do seem to recall it was fucking expensive for what it offered, which was another reason why it didn't sell very well. Anyway, all of this has absolutely fuck all to do with this particular video. So as you see from the description, this is Elite 128, and yes, that is Elite as in, the David Braben and Ian Bell game. And this video poses a question, which is, when is a Commodore 128 game not a Commodore 128 game? Well, apparently when it's Elite 128, because the title certainly makes you think, yep, it's a game for the Commodore 128. And the instructions, the packaging, all make it very clear this is a game for the Commodore 128. Even more so, if you try running it on a Commodore 64, it wouldn't work. And yet, once you start up your Commodore 128, in order to play Elite 128, what's the first thing you got to do? Put it in Commodore 64 mode. Why? Anyway, so off we go. Then we'll go into Commodore 64 mode, and I've already got the disk image in, so we'll load, and there we go. So we'll run it. There we go. Welcome to Elite 128. Now you can change the language. I'm not going to bother. You can change the character set. There's only two options with there. There's thin, and then there's the Commodore 64 system font, which I believe the Commodore 64 version of Elite used anyway. And then you can change video from PAL to NTSC. Anyway, so we've done all that, so let's start the game. So here we are on the title page, and the first change is already very apparent. So we have this music here on the title page, and yes, I agree, it is shit, but nevertheless it's a difference. Now the other difference that may instantly hit you is the font, which I described on the loading selection screen. So you can also see that it says Elite 128, it's not just Elite. Now the other changes that you may have noticed, well, if you're more observant or maybe with a more technical mind, is that the graphics are much faster. The spinning Cobra Mark III here just moves so much quicker. The other change is that, okay, the graphics are still flickering on the vector graphics there, but they're not flickering anything like as much. Now I can't remember exactly what speed the processor of the Commodore 128 was running at. I know it was significantly faster than the Commodore 64. I think it runs at something like 1.76 megahertz or something like that. Although when it's being run in Commodore 64 mode, I don't know if that changes. The other thing is that the processor is a Motorola 8502, not a 6502, so it is a better processor. So all of that may add up to why this is running a lot faster and why there aren't so many flickering graphics here. So I don't have a saved commander, so we'll skip that. And if we get onto this part here, we can now see this ship here. That's a different one. That looks like a gecko, but I don't recognise the wing flaps on the side. So they've redesigned some of the ships. Okay. Well, let's get the game underway. Now, this isn't going to be a full review of the game. If you want to see a full review, check out my review of the Commodore 64 version. Or better yet, check out Gansty's review of the Commodore 64 version. His one goes into a lot more technical info as to why the game runs the way it does. Mine is just saying that, you know, Elite is a great game, but the Commodore 64 version is shit, you know. So, I mean, the chances are, if you're watching this, you're already very familiar with the game Elite anyway, especially on my channel. Most people who subscribe to my channel do so because of my Elite Dangerous videos. Why? Fuck knows. Don't waste your time asking me. I haven't got a clue why people want to subscribe to watch that shit. So anyway, as always, we start in Lave, and you'll notice that the cursor here moves a lot faster and a lot more smoothly than it does in the Commodore 64 version. But I believe, yeah, Zayance is where I want to go because it's mostly industrial, so they will want food, and I am in an agricultural system, and their government is a corporate state, so I shouldn't have too much difficulty there. So that's where I'm going to head. So what I will do, I'll first of all buy a missile, because I don't yet have all of my missiles. Now I do. You can have up to 4 missiles, which, well, I now have. I don't need fuel, so I'll get out of there. And I want to buy all of their food. So it leaves me with 12.4 credits, which isn't a great deal. Is there anything else here that I can buy? Well, it's a case of, can I afford anything else? Well, there are some things I can afford, but yeah, fuck it. 16 tonne of food is quite alright. So my freight capacity, I can carry up to 20 tonnes, and I have 16 tonnes available, or 16 tonnes used up rather. So, okay, well, I've got my course set, I've got my cargo, and I've got my ship loaded up. Oh, fuck off. So, let's launch. And straight away, you'll see that graphically, it's nigh on identical to the Commodore 64 version. But, there's no sudden speed ups when the planet or any other graphics disappear from your view. So the game actually is running at a good constant speed all the time. It's not, you know, only able to run fairly fast when there isn't much being rendered. So that is a dramatic improvement over the Commodore 64 version. So anyway, right, let's hyperspace to Zayance then. And there we go. So build up our speed and head towards the planet. And there we go. Right, now that looks like either a boulder or a asteroid. Either way, if I blow it up, I'll get half a credit. There we go. And, well, they say every little helps, and yeah, there you go, I've got half a credit. Half a credit certainly is. Every little helps. Now, because this is a corporate state system, I'm almost certainly not going to encounter any ships here, which means it's boring, but it's safe. And when you're just starting off, you want to go to safe locations. One of the big problems I had with Elite back in the day was the number of people who would just bullshit like fuck knows what about the game. You know, they were constantly saying, "Oh yeah, I've dealt in nothing but narcotics right from the word go." Well, no, you fucking didn't. You're not going to progress if you try doing that. And then they'd be saying, "Oh, every planet I went to, I always went to anarchy systems or feudal systems." No, you fucking didn't. Not when all you had was a fucking front pulse laser. Yeah, there was so much bullshit said by Elite players back in the day. Yeah, I just couldn't be doing with it. I mean, that said, nothing's changed today. If you look at some of the things that the Elite Dangerous fanboys are saying when they're talking about the game, they say, "Oh yeah, I did this, and this." No, you fucking didn't, you lying sucker cunt. Now, is this ship going to attack me? Well, I'm in the safety zone, so it shouldn't, especially as it looks like... I can't actually see what it is. I think it's a Python. It's a big fucking bastard ship. At first I thought it was a Viper, but it's far too big to be a Viper. I can't keep up with it. Right, well, it's either a boa or an anaconda. I think because of that rear, I think it's a boa. So it's a big bastard ship. But there's no point in me attacking it because I would only become wanted if I did. So let's head towards the docking station. Once you're in the safety zone, your like compass point in the top corner of the radar there points towards the docking station, not the planet. So it helps you to line up and figure out where to go. Now, not only that, but it's been a long time since I've done any manual docking, or did that either. But certainly it's been a long time since I did any manual docking on an 8-bit version of Elite. So to say I'm fucking rusty is a monumental piece of understatement. So this has very much got the potential of going completely fucking tits up. But I'll give it a go. I'm not one to hide my fuck-ups. If I fuck it up and plough into the side of the docking station, then it will be there for all to see. Now, unlike Elite Dangerous, despite a lot of brown nosers telling you to the contrary, here the docking stations, the docking slot, entry point, whatever you want to call it, is always facing the planet. That is not the case in Elite Dangerous, but the brown nosers will insist it is. So I'm pretty close actually to being lined up. Let's see. Not quite. You can certainly see some flickering there, but I mean it's not terrible. I'd say I've seen much worse than the Commodore 64 version. Alright, well let's try and get ourselves docked. Whoa, this is not looking good. Yeah, fucking ploughed right into the side. So there we go. So that's not how to land. Instead of coming up game over, which it does on the Commodore 64 version, for some reason it decides to tell you ship destroyed, and then it stays there until you press fire. So that was a complete fucking bollocks up. Let's see what ship it shows here. It's the Gecko again. Right, what I'll do then, because I completely fucked that up, we'll have one more try. We'll go somewhere else. I won't bother with any cargo because it's not like I'm going to save this game or anything. Alright, let's have a look then and see what happens at DSO. Let's see if I can, we'll see if I can land. We'll also see if we can actually encounter any, I've already got my food. Maybe it saves your game so that when you blow up it takes you back to where you last were. Well, that's not bad. I didn't realise it did that, but that's quite welcome if it does. Anyway, off we go. This time we'll head to D-Zone then and see what happens here. So sound effects are identical to the Commodore 64 version. The only change is the music. Now this is almost certainly going to be a hostile ship. In fact, there may be more than one of them. No, it is only one. I can't see what it is. It might be a crate actually. I don't want to fire unless it fires on me, because otherwise I could end up becoming wanted. It would just be nice to see what ship it is, but I just can't get in close enough. But if I become wanted, then when it comes to trying to dock on the ship, or dock on the docking station, I'm not going to get too far because they'll close the docking bay doors on me and I'll be destroyed. Let's have a look. What is my legal status? Is clean, but while this fucking thing's here, and this is a Python, so it's a much bigger ship than I thought. Oh fuck it, let's just, yeah, it is a Python. What the fucking hell are you running for? All I've got is a front pulse laser. It's not like I can do much with it. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's taken my front shield out. I have no ECM and I couldn't get in a position quickly enough to destroy that missile. There we go. And yeah, all of his cargo then ploughed straight into me and my ship was destroyed. So I'm really doing well. Right, one last go to try and fucking land. Right, where the fuck am I going to go now? Oh, at Leasty. What's here? I think I'm docked in Leasty in Elite Dangerous, and yet I can't remember what's here. Corporate State, Poor Industrial. So there's fuck all there. Let's go. There we go, so we're pretty close now to, well I say pretty close, this is as close as we can get to the planet, so can't jump any further. So well, let's go on with the review then. Audio, as I say, is exactly the same as the Commodore 64 version. Apart from that music on the title page. Although for all I know, maybe they've changed the music of the docking computer as well. But until I get a docking computer, I have no idea. Oh fucking hell. That looks like more than one ship, whatever it is. It is more than one. Are they going to attack? Yes they are. They've already opened fire. I destroyed one of them. There's still another two out there. slowing down a lot now. These are crates. Right, so that's 2 destroyed. The trouble is there are a lot of cargo canisters all fucking littered around the place. I can't tell what are the cargo canisters and what's the enemy ship. Well, I can't pick up cargo canisters because you need a fuel scoop to be able to do that, so I'm also now in the safety zone. That is that a ship or is that a cargo canister? Well, whatever it is, I can't fucking hit it. That looks like a cargo canister actually. After all that. Oh well, let's just get ourselves into a position with the space station. So what has that done to my... yeah, okay, so legal status is still perfectly okay. There's a lot of ships around here. Far more than you would see in the Commodore 64 version. So anyway, that's audio done. So graphics. The big difference is the graphics. They do still flicker a bit, but nothing like as badly as they did on the Commodore 64 version. They do still slow down a bit, but again, nothing like as much as the Commodore 64 version, and you do need to have quite a bit on screen before you actually notice the slowdown. I mean, you saw there in that attack, there were 3 ships firing on me. It wasn't until I destroyed one of the ships, so there were 2 cargo canisters around and 2 ships remaining before it started slowing down. That's not bad. As I say, it's certainly a lot better than the Commodore 64, which starts to slow down with just 1 ship. And of course, they've also tweaked the appearances of, well, at least 1 ship. The Gecko there on the title page has additional wings. So, yeah, the only graphical changes then are, you know, the speed at which they are run. They don't flicker anywhere near as much, and they've added a few things to some of the ships. So the graphics are much better than the Commodore 64 version. Not so much because of what you know, what is being rendered, but the quality and the speed with which they are being rendered. But then, I mean, yeah, we're not talking sprites here. We're talking vector graphics, and the much better processor of the Commodore 128, I suppose, is playing quite a part in that, or at least the sheer speed of the processor. Right, let's see how I'm doing. It doesn't look too bad. What's the rear view say? I'm not quite lined up. Right, so let's move down here a bit. That's it. Right, move forward. Now stop. What are we doing now? No, still not right. Okay, about now. Thing is, I don't want to get too close. That's looking better. It's still not perfect, but better. Still not a very good angle. Alright. No, still not good. I really wish this had the yaw as well as the pitch and roll. I might get away with that. Oh, no, I'm not going to get away with this. I'm going to crash into the side again. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So I got in, but that was fucking close. Told you I was rusty at the landing. So, okay, well, I can sell my food. So that means that I now have 125.9 credits, but I also have all of my lasers. So I made a profit of 55.9. There you go. So with all this in mind then, do I recommend it over the Commodore 64 version? Well, now that we are going to be playing this in emulators, without doubt, yes, I do. This is certainly a much better game to play than the Commodore 64 version. Back in the day, would this have been worth getting? Well, of course. Oh yeah, if you had a Commodore 128, yes, this was the version to get, rather than the Commodore 64 version. It just plays so much faster. It's a lot smoother graphically. It's just a lot more pleasant. It's just a much better game to play. But of course that all depends on if you had a Commodore 128, because there is no way you could ever seriously sit here and say the best thing you could do is get rid of your Commodore 64, get a 128 just so you could play this. I mean, yes, Elite was a fantastic game. It completely revolutionised gaming, but it was not worth, you know, replacing your Commodore 64 with a 128 just to get this version. That's just ridiculous. So, I mean, yes, I wholeheartedly recommend this to be the version you play if you want to play a Commodore version of Elite and want to, you know, yeah, you want to play the original Elite version, but you prefer Commodore computers. This is the one to get. Although my next video may make you change your mind about that. So I rate this very good, actually. I rate it 9 out of 10, but was it actually worth buying despite being really great? Well, only if you were one of the minority who actually had a Commodore 128, but under no circumstances was it at all worth, you know, the consideration of getting rid of your 64, upgrading to a 128 just to get this version of Elite. The Commodore 64 version may have been terrible, but it was playable enough. I mean, I played it myself for fuck knows how many years. So there you go. That is Elite 128 then. A significant improvement on the Commodore 64 version, and it's a great version to be playing now if you want to play the original Elite. But yeah, back in the day it was only going to be an option to a very small number of people. Well, that brings this review to an end, and we will see you at the next one.